welcome back to In the Ring with. We got another good one tonight.
We do. Today we have with us Chad Ware, studio musician or musician all around, and we're going to learn what it takes to make it in the music business and hear some of his stories.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear this. Chad has been with us at our church now for 10 years. He's a Christian. He's a believer. I love that. I love to promote that. But he's also good. I mean, I love to watch him when he's playing the guitar, and I get into just watching you guys, and I'm amazed, and you do such an incredible job.
Thank you.
So Chad, let's go back a little bit.
How'd you get started?
How'd you get started? There it is.
Okay, I would say I got started probably because in church. My mom played the piano, and my sisters sang. I sang too, and my dad was a pastor, and so we kind of would. It was a small church, and so we would sing, and then I was about 10 years old. I got a guitar. I saved my money and went to a music store in Dickinson that's not there anymore. Bought an acoustic, and my dad was like, "Well, you're probably wasting your money, but whatever." And then he said, "But if you learn to play that, then I'll buy you an electric." So I started learning a few chords, and 8 or 9 months later, I could play. You know what I mean? Like play some chords, and then so he ended up buying me electric.
So what's your preference now? You just like the acoustic? You like electric?
I'm always gonna like playing electric. But I do both. I mean, I'm probably equally good at either.
You like lead? You're more like rhythm?
Lead and rhythm. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Either one.
Nice.
He's good too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just sit back and watch him, but I found out something, just visiting with you, and I've known you for the 10 years that you've been with us at the church, but you sing.
Yes, sir.
And tell us all about you. I want to know everything.
Well, I sang before I played guitar, but then when I started playing guitar, I just kind of didn't sing as much, but then in the music business, it's like you want to be able to do as many things as you can. So I started singing again, and I write songs. So always kind of working at doing that. And then also like playing, solo acoustic gigs, for extra money on the side, and, just trying to do whatever I can do. I enjoy doing a little bit of everything. I kind of get bored just
doing
one thing,
And currently you're now part of Tracy Bird's
road band. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you play guitar for him, but you also do your own. You do your original.
Have my own music.
So it's under your name.
It's not quite as popular as Tracy's, but
no,
it's under my
name.
name.
Just getting there. You got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, no,
So
under
it's under
Chad Ware. Yes,
under
sir.
Chad Ware. You can get on Spotify, and same country as well.
Apple Music, where iTunes, everywhere. Yeah, yes, sir.
And while we're doing this, if somebody wanted to liked what you're saying today and like your interview, how would somebody get a hold of you?
Well, you could just hit me up on social media through Messenger, or my email's chadwaremusic@yahoo.com.
Chadware Music at
CHADWARE music at yahoo.com.
So started in the church, like all the greats, and that how Elvis Presley started playing in church.
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then now you're doing studio stuff for him. I'm assuming you've done different things over your career. Sounds like you've had a pretty colorful career. Who are some of your favorite artists that you've worked with and gone to different places?
Oh, that I've worked with? Honestly, like I've really been fortunate. I mean, everybody that I've ever worked for has been really, really cool. And I mean, I've heard stories where artists aren't, but my first road gig was with the band Perfect Stranger. And that was, I think that would have been around 2003 when I started with them. And that was, I mean, it just kind of, I started playing out like I guess, in the scene or whatever, around 2001, and I got a regular gig at a local Opry, the Manville Opry. So I was in the house band,
Okay.
and so I really hadn't, other than like I'd played in a couple gospel bands and played at church, but I played a lot in my bedroom, but I got a gig playing with this band, and I learned all these old standards, country, and I always loved country music, so then I met some people, in the local scene, and I started playing with a guy, and they were really good, and this guy had like people coming down from Nashville, like with all these record labels in the early 2000s, like coming down and he was doing showcases. Well, I was green, and I was with him for a few months, and I got fired, and it just totally, I was devastated because I thought, oh, this guy is going to make it, and and like I want to be a part of it, and but it didn't happen. So then I went to go play with this other band, and they weren't. I don't want to say they weren't as good. I mean, musically, it was good. They had a different thing going on, but the one good thing they had going on. Like the band was good. I don't want to say, but it just they didn't seem to be at the high energy level, like younger that the other group was. But the singer was just as good, but the guy that ran the band was a promoter, so he was always bringing in these acts. So I get open up with this band with some of these acts. Well, one of them was Perfect Stranger, and so during sound check, they were kind of watching the band, and I was so nervous because I'd only been playing out like in the scene or whatever, in clubs or whatever you want to call it, for like about a year, and I'm like, man, these guys are like watching me. So I was like, oh, I didn't know what to think, but then the bass player for Perfect Stranger, Shane, he's like, hey man, let me get your number, if you ever need some advice or want to talk, it's like, call me. So I worked up the nerve to call him, and just and then he was like, hey, we're gonna be looking for a guitar player probably at the end of the year. He's like, would you be interested? And I'm like, me? Like,
Me?
So it gave me a few months to kind of work on their stuff. They mailed me some CDs. This is before internet, so mailed me the CDs and told me what to learn, and then I went and they had it was November or December, because it was a Christmas party. It was like the big Hilton that's by Hobby Airport. Mm-hmm. They played in the ballroom, and so they said learn all this stuff, and then Richard, their old guitar player, he's passed away now, but they're like, he's going to be there, and you just play everything, and what you don't know, if we do songs you don't know, he'll just cover it. So I played everything, and he was up there, and then they're like, all right, you got it, you got the gig, and I'm like, and then that was it. Richard didn't play with him anymore during that time. They did get back together in like 2011 to.
Yeah.
And they're getting back together again actually this year, so.
That's cool. So our theme is about people that have hit it tough, hit it hard. In some cases.
Yeah, some big overcoming event or something.
Yeah.
Down.
So getting started, you had to have come across some walls.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
what's one of the lowest times you ever hit?
Well, there's so many. I don't know where to
It's hard
start,
to pick one.
Well,
I guess getting fired from the first thing.
Getting fired from the first
probably...
band, that really bothered me. And it's funny because I'm really good friends with the guy now. And that one event, me getting fired and getting the job with Perfect Stranger, I would say that had that not happened to me, I definitely wouldn't have got the next gig, the Janie Fricke gig, for sure.
That's a big name.
That is. She was really, really big in the
You're a
80s,
young
70s,
guy.
and 80s.
Have you heard that name?
I've heard of it. She's
Okay.
not as
Yeah,
popular.
I think she had like 18 number one hits.
18
like she was,
number
maybe at least female singer of the year several
Yep.
times.
Yep.
A really sweet lady. And I met somebody on the road when I was with Perfect Stranger that led to that gig. And then I ended up playing with Rick Trevino and then Tracy Bird. I also played with Corey Morrow for a short time, which I'll get into that because I got fired from that gig too,
So people actually do get fired from
they
music
get fired.
business.
Yep. And,
Is there like a common theme? They just
it's just the way it is.
just business is business. They
Business
just
is
don't
business,
like
and
something or
I don't, it is. So when I got fired from the first band, they wanted somebody who was like more seasoned. You know what I mean? I was green. I was real timid. I just hadn't honed my abilities, you know.
Right.
And the guys that were in that band, they had all actually toured with Doug Supernaw, if you remember who he was. He had several hits in the '90s, so it was kind of like remnants of his band with this one, which for me to even be included at that point with those guys was like a big deal, because I mean, I think they all saw that I had potential, you know what I mean? And but like that, I mean, it's pretty low time, and then they're just getting fired from Corey. I was a really low time, I mean, and I don't really know what that was about. I kind of think I do.
They don't even give you good reasons. They're just like, hey, you're out.
They don't even call you. I mean, their manager's like, hey, we appreciate you, and
don't need you anymore.
Yeah, but and the worst thing about that was that was a great gig. It was a lot of fun, guitar gig, and for a guitar player, it was just a fun gig. And we were playing the Strawberry Festival. So like, I'd been with him for a few months, and like everybody from around here was like coming out to see me play. And I got fired the week we were playing the Strawberry Festival, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can come pick up your stuff," So I had to go drive down and get my amp and everything out of the trailer, and do the walk of shame.
Oh, jeez.
No one even said anything to me. Like
you just didn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
And they don't give you feedback as to any reasons why, or
like
you just got to wonder.
You just wonder.
Overcoming that is tough enough.
Oh yeah, I mean, and then so right out of the gate, I kind of hit it hot. You know what I mean? I just kind of got lucky, or whatever blessed, whatever you want to put it. Got some gigs,
some opportunities.
I had some great opportunities, and then like just kind of floated around for a while, and then after the Corey Morrow gig, I kind of started really wanting to do more of my own thing, which is, it's really hard. I mean, I'm 46 now, but I looked really young in my 20s, like really young. And even though I was good, it was like no one took me seriously. So it was kind of, I mean, trying to get gigs was really hard, and you just live from gig to gig, I mean, that's, and I wanted to get into the studio work, but I hadn't really broken into that scene. I'd done some. That was a whole nother deal with Perfect Stranger. It kind of opened up some studio work up at a really big studio in Tyler called Rosewood. That's where Leanne Rhymes recorded Blue.
Right out of Tyler.
Right out of Tyler. A lot of Christian artists like Matthew Ward, Dallas Holmes, they all. So it was a real deal studio. So I did get in there. But then when that kind of went away, and I just struggled, and I got married, went to nursing school, failed out of nursing school, got divorced. I've been divorced twice, so that's another low point,
So some low points you've had to push
I mean,
through.
it just struggles, and I don't know. It's just like sometimes you don't really know what to do, but
keep on trying.
You just gotta keep on going.
I didn't really know anything else to do but to keep trying, And it seemed like everything.
You didn't know how to quit.
Huh?
You didn't know how to quit.
Yeah, my dad always told me, he says, "Boy, I didn't raise no quitter," So,
yeah.
But you just sometimes you just are in survival. I mean, I lived in survival mode for years, where I just was broke, just barely getting by,
So the whole cliche starving artist.
Oh,
you were living that to the
yeah.
T.
I mean, I lived with my parents till I was like in my 30 or till my second marriage. I mean, all kinds of.
Is that just the passion of the music? You're like, hey, I probably could do something that would make me more money, but I just love music and I think it's going to happen. You just keep looking ahead. What keeps you going?
When you're younger, you kind of have the stars in your eyes, and you're like, I'm gonna do it no matter what. But then life beats you up pretty good when you're trying to do all this stuff and nothing. I mean, it's like literally, it just seemed like nothing worked out for me for a long time. I mean, I was just eking by, and I started playing at some churches, but one thing leads to another.
How do you keep pushing through in those times, which is
I mean,
really
you-
low? Nothing's working. At some point, you're like, I should give up. Did that thought cross your
Oh,
mind?
yeah, every day. I mean, sometimes it still does, but but I mean,
So you're normal.
yeah, I think. Okay, so I'm trying to rewind here. So I done like the Perfect Stranger gig, the Janie Freaky thing. I had actually played a little bit with Rick Trevino. I turned down the gig with him originally because I was playing with another guy who talked me out of it, and I won't mention that. And so in 2010. Trying to think. I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row. 2010, 2011. So 2011, I started nursing school, and I got married. I was working at a church. I guess we're just going to be completely real here, right?
Yeah.
So,
and that's what we are.
all right. So I was working at a church. I was just playing guitars.
We're trying to inspire other people that
All right.
want to hear a real story of a
Yeah.
guy that is
All right,
successful,
so-
that went through all kinds
We're
of stuff.
being real with
so
people.
for a long time, I quit going to church altogether. So and I just because I just wasn't living a Christian life, and I grew up my dad was a pastor.
I feel like
so
you're
I
letting your dad down. Might as well just kind
right.
of separate.
So this guy would come out and watch me play at this bar, and every Wednesday I had a regular gig, and then he was like, "Hey, you want to come play a rodeo service at my church?" I'm like, "Well, I'll do that. I need the money." So I mean, it was like a couple $100. I'm like, "Heck yeah, I'll come do it." So I did, and then he's like, "Hey, you want to come play an Easter service?" And I'm like, I'm like, "Well, I needed the money," so I was like, "Yeah, I mean," and well, then he's like, "Hey, would you like to start, playing like regularly?" And I didn't really want to. I mean, honestly, because I felt so bad about being in church and the way I was living, and not that I wasn't on drugs or you know what I mean. I just wasn't.
Well, I did.
Well, you're
get-
raised by a pastor, so you have
But
a
I
standard. There's a
drank
much
and I
higher
partied.
standard.
You know what I mean. But I was doing my own thing. That's for sure. And and then
I've been there.
And
We've been there.
We've all been there.
I was
We've
dating
been
this
there.
gal, and the weekend I started playing at the church, she broke up with me. So I was like, I was in love with her, and so she broke up with me. Well, then I a few months into playing at church, I started kind of trying to get my life back together, and then I met my daughter's mom, and next thing you know, she's pregnant, and I'm working at this church, so I had to step down. So another humiliating, here this guy brings me in, and I wasn't I staff, but I was, but I had to step down, and then we got married, and I was in nursing school, and during when I first got into nursing school, I was probably just a few months in. I actually got a phone call from somebody, and they're like, for an artist, and they're like, "Hey, this artist is looking for a guitar player." It was a pretty big artist, really big, and do you want to audition? And I'm like, "Nah, I can't do it. I'm in nursing school, And I was doing pretty good, and so then halfway through nursing school, we got married, we had a kid, and then it just it was just tough, I was still playing music, doing nursing school, having a kid. She worked on the other side of town, and so I couldn't devote all the
couldn't
time.
be
So I ended
everywhere.
up failing out of nursing school. I mean, this was a big blow, and then from there it was. I took a job, at another church. I hate to say it, but I needed the money, and an opportunity opened up for me to lead worship. So I was like, well, I'll give this a try. So I was driving all the way to Tascasita to work at this church, and they were good people and everything. But it just wasn't a fit.
Wasn't
I
a
just
fit.
knew it wasn't a fit. But I did it. I was like, well, I'm going to just do what I have to do, and I would try to get go look for jobs, but I was thinking well, the jobs I could get, I could make more money playing music, and so I just kept playing, working on my own band. I was just doing basically just doing band gigs at that time. So I started doing some studio work at a local studio here in town that is really big, Stormy Cooper Media. I'll give him a plug. He's my buddy.
Nice.
Great
Yeah,
studio.
go ahead.
And And so then I got fired from that job, and then that actually led to the church that I'm at now. I've been there 10 years with Termite, and then so I started going there, and then in 2015, and then 2016, my wife is like, you got to leave, where I want to separate, and I'm just like,
Hit you out of the blue?
well, yes and no. It was not. I mean, it was just a roller coaster marriage. I mean, honestly, it just. I don't know. It was just. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah,
it
you don't
was.
have to
It was a
go
lot
into
of stuff. I mean,
details.
I mean,
Yeah.
like me and my ex-wife, we're fine, now or whatever. I mean, as far
That's
as
when you have your little girl together with.
Yep, and then
God bless you with it.
and I'd already been through a divorce like earlier on, like in 2005. And anyways, that's my son's mom. So here I am, like a preacher's kid, working at this other church, get separated. Then in 2017, my wife decides I'd moved down to Lamarck, so she decides she wants to give it another try, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And at that time, I'd actually, when we split up the first time, I got a call from Rick Trevino's manager, and who I'd played with him a few times, to come play, and so that kind of started turning into a thing. You know what I mean? Like, and so
Things are on the up.
Yeah, I started kind of getting back into the big, what do you want, the big time or whatever the pro level kind of gigs, and so we get back together for about a year, and then things go south again, and she's out. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and at that point, I just kind of like. I was just existing, I mean, there was no happiness, nothing, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like
Your survival mode.
survival mode again. I was actually starting to play, I was playing with Rick. So then by playing with him, it like opened a lot of doors for other people. Cause you're like, hey, I play with Rick Trevino. So they're like, well, you got to be good, so we'll give you it opened doors to play other places.
There's some camaraderie. Once you kind of go to one gig,
Yeah.
you meet different people, the whole network. I
And
imagine.
I started getting even more studio work, out of it, because you're like, if you play with somebody, it's just, I mean,
Exposes.
it's
People get to hear
exposure, and people want to say, hey, I'm connected to this, artist through this guy or whatever, and so I just kind of made up my mind that time that like when I got divorced before, I just started going to drinking all the time. I'd like I tell people, I'd go out 8 days a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never
Beatles
was home.
song.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was I was trying to just find, I don't know, I was looking for what happiness, and I
Yeah,
would
you
never
just wanted to
couldn't
numb
find it.
Just wanted to numb it.
And just so I just at that point I was like, I'm not gonna go back and do what I did before.
Yeah.
I mean, and nobody's perfect, but I'm saying I made a deliberate attempt to stay on,
And
to
I
try to
imagine
stay
that's
the
hard to
course.
do, especially doing gigs and traveling, kind of like the
Yeah.
rock star
But-
lifestyle.
Yeah, I'd kind of already quit. Like by that time, I'd already kind of quit drinking. When I got married and we had our daughter, I was still drinking and and still kind of partying a little bit. And like honestly, me and her but when I started working at the church as the worship leader, I was like, all right, like
I can't be seen out and about.
I gotta slow it down. I mean, like I was like, all right, I gotta start, and for my family, and I just felt like it was.
Just wanted to do that
It was
for-
time, and I felt that pull, from the Holy Spirit, to
Right.
try to change, and the crazy thing is I felt like honestly, the closer that I got to God, the worse my life got. Like my marriage went downhill. I mean, like really quick. I mean, when
you
I
were being attacked.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. But I just, you just know that like going out into the world and trying, going out, trying to find that temporary fix, from a woman or from alcohol or whatever. It's going to lead you right back to where you were. you know, like
Yeah.
to the
And
to,
you
or to a
recognize
worse
that at
place.
some point.
Yeah.
And how did music play a role? Did you ever, was that
Well-
like a comfort towards you? Or did you just kind of start to get a disdain?
Oh,
How did
I
you
honestly,
keep-
I hated it. I mean, I just,
Really?
I felt really trapped. I mean, my inspiration for music was,
you just wasn't there.
I just didn't want to, I didn't want to play, but I kind of didn't have a choice because,
Like, what else can I do?
right. But it just seemed like during that time, like I started somehow or another getting like with some booking agents, you know, like, they would call me but I mean, I can't tell you how many times like I would try to play places and I couldn't. It seemed like I couldn't get anywhere like doing my own
Right.
thing. But then all of a sudden it's like it got to now it's to the point where I don't even have to really call to get gigs. I just
You
They
just
just
out
have-
there.
right.
You kind of, you built
you
that.
overcome.
And that's
You
from just
overcome.
keeping in it.
just keep
Staying-
and I remember going and getting invited to this Christmas party from this one booking agent that I work with. It's an agency, so they had this Christmas party, and there was a guy there. His name is Ed, and he's a DJ around town. And this guy just thinks I'm the greatest thing ever. I mean, he's such a nice guy. But so I walk into this Christmas party, and he's like, "Well, there's Chad Ware," and I'd never met these booking agents. I just only email or phone calls. You know, I'd never met anybody. I didn't know anybody. And as soon as I walk in, "Hey, there's Chad Ware. Like, this is the best guitar player," and you know, and I'm just like, "Shut up, Ed!" Like, and there's other like all these other like local musicians and great guitar players. And I remember like Mark May was there, you know, and I mean, Mark May's like he's just passed away, but man, what a play with Dickie Betts, you know, and Dahman Brothers and.
So Chad, you've hit. I'm impressed. I've known you 10 years at the church, and I think we've gotten to know each other more the last couple of years, and which has been a pleasure, by the way, because I love to
Oh,
watch you play.
thank you.
And by the way, if on next Sunday, y'all, you gonna be there Sunday?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can come out Sunday to Fellowship of the Nations, and you can watch Chad play, and you can hear him live. And Chad, again, we want to make sure you get some coverage on this. Tell them how they can get a hold of you. Tell them every way
Just
they can.
Chad Ware on I mean, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. My email. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach out. My email is chadwaremusic@yahoo.com.
Yeah.
And
So
So-
do you prefer doing studio stuff? Do you like doing your own stuff?
I mean, I don't know. I like doing it all. I mean, like I said, I mean, I get really bored, like just doing one thing, you know. And so, like going back to what I was telling you about the party, the Christmas party is like when he did that. It's like everybody at I got to know all the booking agents at this,
Yeah.
and it just kind of helped me opened a lot of doors.
Promotion.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as doing my own thing, it's a lot of it's when you're playing music. I mean, what you talk about making it in the music. I mean, there's different levels of making it, but like making a good living, like making something where you can be proud of and say, I made this amount, versus making $20,000 a
scraping by.
year, I mean, for years,
Yes.
and just, I mean, like really, suffering,
You struggle.
But you have
and
to
then
go
you
through
suffer.
those.
and during that time, like after I was playing with Rick Trevino, I was just playing local gigs and playing with him, and I thought, you know what, this is pretty cool. Like I'll really love playing with Rick, and I was like, this will probably be this will be the last artist gig I ever do, because I don't live in Nashville, which is a whole nother deal. Like I've never lived in Nashville, and
Yeah, what's that about? How do you can you make it big without being connected to Nashville?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like one of the only people that I know of that's ever done. I mean, it really is.
Because I know
like
Texas has got a pretty.
It
decent,
has its own scene. It's a little different, but I've gotten. I mean, Texas. There's a lot of artists that live in Texas that record in Nashville but don't live there. But so, anyways, I just kind of. I don't know. I just kind of fell into it, honestly, and just built a reputation. And I was I always loved country music, so I was kind of never a rock guy or a blues guy. I just kind of was known for.
Do other musicians change genres? That's
Yeah,
just
a lot.
personal
I mean,
preference?
there's a lot of guys that could kind of play
They
everything.
just
like
play whatever. But you're country guy.
more specifically, yes. And that's kind of. what I'm known for, you know.
I think it's cool that some of the people he's met, he's played with, what was it, 100 plus
Played
people?
on over 100 different artists on their albums, you know. Look,
And I think you know a lot of the big timers.
a few, you
A
know.
few of them you sit here and Chestnut and just different people that you know or met or had something to do with. I think that's cool.
Oh, it's really
And,
cool. I mean, it's when I was a kid, you know, and I always loved country music, but my first recollection would be like Hee Haw. I used to watch Hee Haw when I was a kid all the time. Roy Clark
Roy
and
Clark,
Buck Owens.
yeah. Love
And then when I started playing guitar, I just wanted to learn because I seen people at church playing, and then I saw Ricky Skaggs on TV, and he was kind of playing a style like a country. They call it chicken picking, and I'd never seen anybody do that. And it just, I mean, it literally was like that moment where I was like, "That's what I want to do."
You play that style? as
Yeah,
well?
that's what like led me.
Doesn't that also lend itself to the banjo? Very similar.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you're using your fingers in a pick. You know what I mean? It's a very similar, like what.
Because
You know
I
what
like
mean?
that sound.
Yeah, I do too. And it just it literally just was like what lit my fire. Like I mean, to do what I do, you know. And
That's great. So, what are some of the next things that you're working on? What would you sound like you've had a very colorful history, getting to where you are today.
Oh yeah.
You've obviously still got a lot of years left in you. What are you looking towards accomplishing or making happen?
You know, I really honestly I don't know. Like so after the when I was playing with Rick, you know, like trying to think. So I was with him. I started with him in 2016. 2020. I don't know if it was 2021 or 2022. I can't remember now. Like the January 1st of 2022, I got a call or a message from Tracy Bird's manager that they were looking for a guitar. They said, "Hey, do you know any country guitar players looking for a gig? Tracy Bird's looking for a guitar player." And I'm like, "What? I do."
Yeah, right here.
And then, but so I kind of, you know, they through the drummer Tyler, I'd done a recording session with him, and he was like, "Hey, you should check out Chad." And he played with Rick Trevino, and it was really hard to leave Rick because I really loved that gig. But man, it was a step up financially. It was really a big financial move for me to get to do that, and it's been a real blessing. You know, I mean, I've played some huge shows, so I mean that I'm trying to get to the. I don't want to leave him hanging, like and I've been doing that since. So this is going on my 4th year. So it would have been 2022 when I started with them.
Yeah,
And,
that's cool.
And I'm still doing it. But as far as like my own thing, like
How do you have time to do
well,
those gigs?
we're
and
not
also
gone
do your
like
own?
we don't tour for months. You know, we go out for weekends or like during the summer we might go out for a few weeks at a time and then come back for a few days. But so I'm actually doing a lot of recording at my house. People will send me tracks there. I'm doing and like so the stuff I've been doing lately for my own music, like so I'll start out like with an acoustic track to a click track, which the click is like in time, and I'll play to that and I'll send it to a drummer and I'll be like, kind of do this. Then they'll send me the track back and I'll get a bass
That's
player
how
to
they
do
do
it,
it?
or I'll play like some sort of bass thing and then I'll build it, and then the next thing you know, sounds really good. And
That's pretty neat. So,
So-
it's all remote. You're not even in the studio together.
Right.
You just
For-
give me your
for the-
drum piece, give me this piece, and layer them all together.
And I still do go into the studio to do some work. It's just that,
It's a good way to
going to a
collaborate.
studio is, it's expensive. And if you're doing a lot of songs, it's, it's just, I'm fortunate enough to where I have the connections where I can make it happen,
That's nice. Like remote collaboration.
Yeah. And it's turned out really good. And so I think actually in 2020, I started recording a bunch of songs at a studio. And then, I did a video for one of them. It was called The Long Way, and I put that out in 2023. And I just I had released another one last October called Trail of Tears that I wrote with a buddy of mine.
Where can people see these videos?
On YouTube. I just have one right now, but it's on
Okay.
YouTube. It's called The Long Way, Chad Ware. If you just type that in. But that's an interesting story. So during COVID, the whole music thing was kind of shut down.
Yeah, everything
And
was
so
shut
my
down.
dad was a pastor, but he also has like rental homes. That's kind of his retirement plan. And I'll be honest with you, I hated working on. I mean, I did everything I could. I was like, I'm not going to ever work on a rent house ever again, you know. So 2020, guess what? You know, here I am, you know,
Never
going to
say
work
never.
with at a rent house with my dad, remodeling it, you know, tearing out the floor. I mean, it was a disaster. And so where I I was telling you earlier where I live, I had to drive from like Lamarck to Dickinson, so I can take 146 Highway 3 or 45 from my house, you know. So I was like, I'm going to take the long way. And I mean, my dad's a pretty persistent guy, and he'll if you're not there, he's calling you like, where you at, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to take the longest route possible to get there. So I was
I'm gonna get
and I was
stuck in
driving
traffic.
slow. I was not happy, and you know, still, you know, trying to recover from going through a divorce and everything. And I was talking on the phone to a friend, and I said, I'm taking the long way. And I was like, immediately I was like, uh-oh.
There's a song.
I just had, and I mean, literally, so I got there and I went home that night and I wrote it in like 20 minutes.
Wow.
And it's
So the
pretty,
inspiration just hit.
yeah. And it's a pretty cool song. My dad's inspired a couple of 2 or 3 songs. You know, I wrote this on my first album that I did in like 2011. I wrote this song called "That Guitar Won't Take You Anywhere" because my dad would always tell me, he's like, "Boy, there ain't nothing good would come from a guitar player," you know. And really, what he meant, I mean, I was just playing in bars. I was just lost. I mean, you're just a musician trying to make it, like thousands, tens of thousands of us just,
Yeah.
out there trying to,
Trying to make your dad happy and make
you
you
know,
at the same time.
and I'd had a little bit of taste of the big time, and then it was gone. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, I'm never gonna get that back, you know. And so I wrote a song, you know, called "That Guitar Won't Take You Anywhere," and then another cool thing that I did get to do, which I need to bring up. So like, I had a band like from 2010 all the way up. I mean, I still have my own band now, but in 2015, I actually got to go to France to play a music
Oh,
festival.
wow.
It was a big festival too.
Country music
Country music in France.
in France.
And they do several of them in Europe. And I got invited to go over there, and I'd put an album out, the album called "Down the Road I'm On," which is my second album, which I'm really proud of because I did use my band on that one. And so I got to go over there and do that, and that was kind of a
That
a big
sounds like
deal.
fun.
That
It was
is
it was
good.
awesome, you know.
Where'd you record that one at?
At Stormy Cooper Media.
Okay.
Yep.
So if people wanted to listen to these songs and wanted to purchase them, how could they do it? Because I want to go home and purchase one.
No, well, I don't know if I have any CDs left.
Okay.
I mean, but you can go online. You can go on what is it, iTunes, and buy it,
Like Spotify and Apple
or you
Music.
can go listen to it for free. I mean, I'd rather people listen to it. I don't care if they, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
At this point, you're just like trying to,
Trying to get the word out.
get it out there. But
Well,
So what's it
one-
like doing a country music festival in France?
oh,
There's
it's
things I would never connect
you
those
know,
two.
it's cool because they were flying the French flag and they were flying the Texas flag, you know. And so, I mean, it's kind of like a big county fair and a bunch of French people dressed up like Texans and
No
with a big
kidding.
rodeo and
Really?
like they love
Wow.
country music. I mean, I mean, it's surprising. And it was,
That is surprising.
I mean, it was really cool.
I went to France one time to spar with a world champion, and the people are different. Now when I went, they were rude, a lot of them, but some of them were overboardly nice too. They didn't like me. Of course, I come over and was beating up on their world champion, and I was a sparring partner, and they sent me back. So my France was beautiful. It
Oh,
had
it is.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
What part did you go to?
Where's what do they call it? The Leaning
Oh, Pisa?
Pisa,
Leaning Tower of Pisa?
Was Paris? You were in Paris or
Paris, France, and then we went outside. Isn't it
to
Paris?
Lyon, maybe, or
I don't know. It's been so long
okay,
ago.
yeah.
I'll
Where
never-
was your festival?
Well, it was in a place called Santa Greve, so it was kind of like south southwest France, so it's kind of on the border of the Swiss Alps, you know. But we flew to Paris. They let us. They said, "Y'all want to fly to Paris?" So we flew into Paris and hung out for a few days. I had my birthday there, and then we took a train, went and got picked up. I mean, you know, they treated us like
Royalty.
royalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I mean, I'm just some local Houston guy, you know, and over there, you know, they think, well, you're from Texas and you're a country singer, so you must be like big,
George
you know?
Strait.
Yeah, and so they do have some really big art. I mean, like now the festivals are even bigger. They're bringing some like really big acts.
Do
over
we do
there,
any
but-
festivals like that in Houston?
Oh, I mean, in Houston, I'm sure. I mean, there's festivals all over Texas. Like with Tracy, I'm playing this. It's called Two Step In Festival. It's put on by the same people that do Austin City Limits. We're doing that in April. We did it 2 years ago, and we're doing it again this year in April. And like, it's all day. I mean, there's probably 50,000 people there.
Yeah.
We're doing it the same day as Alan Jackson,
Oh wow.
so it's going to be like his last. Like this is his
also
last tour.
rodeos, different rodeos. I'd imagine those are.
Oh yeah, we've done San Antonio Rodeo, Austin, since I've been with Tracy. San Antonio Rodeo in the AT&T Center, Austin Rodeo. We just played the Woodland, Cynthia Woods with Cody Johnson in September. We did what is the Ranger Stadium? It was sold out. Global Life Field. We did that in October with Cody.
I got to
Big
tell you,
shows, you know.
I've heard him firsthand. He got me a ticket, and I was able to be his guest and go behind stage and in the dressing rooms and all that kind of stuff and meet Tracy. And what a nice guy! What a great
is.
show y'all put on.
Oh, thank you.
If audience, if you ever get a chance to go see them, you should, and because they're great. And me, what it brought to memory was I had forgotten how great Tracy was.
Oh, he's awesome.
And
And a
Tracy's
nice guy. I mean, just a super.
nice
He's
guy.
a great boss. I mean,
Yeah.
he genuinely cares. I mean, I've heard horror stories about other artists, you know, and but he really is just he really cares about the people and treats everybody that works for him good. I mean, and I've been real fortunate because I mean, everybody I've ever worked for is always, you know, I've always been treated really good, you know, and the band, you know.
So we're going to be closing down pretty soon.
Yeah, so as
And,
we close out, the thing, obviously you've shared a lot, your ups and downs. I would say to close it out, what advice would you give to someone that's,
I was going to ask the same thing.
I mean, if,
because there's a lot of people out there that maybe love music and they listen to you like, how can I do that?
I mean, if you want to do it, I mean, honestly, I had no clue. I blindly just decided I was gonna play music. You know, what I mean, there was there was nothing. Even if I would go back and tell myself, hey, you're gonna go through all this, you know, and you still don't. I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna be in 10 years from now or 5 or whatever, but I couldn't have talked myself out of it. I was just that determined to do it. And but I would say that like if you really want to do it, just go for it. I mean, I think when I took a few music classes early on in college, and the professor told me, he's like, well, if that's what you want to do, go hang out where those people are, you know, like go meet people, go, you know, if there's a jam or whatever, or like, you know, go call up if there's a studio and you want to get into that, call a studio and be like, hey, can I intern, or can I just come watch, or you know what I mean? Like you want to. It's network. Everything's really about networking. You know what I
It's
mean?
like anything else, all who you know.
And just self promoting. I mean, and I was doing all this, and I didn't know I would. You know what I mean? Like
You just doing it because you enjoyed it.
yeah, but I mean, I did things probably that I shouldn't have done, or did gigs that I shouldn't have done because it really didn't pay that good. But I always knew that I mean, exposure is good, but I mean, sometimes you gotta suffer and pay your dues, you know, but it'll pay off. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, sometimes taking a lesser paying gig that like maybe will put you in front of somebody versus like being in a wedding band and making $500 every weekend. I mean, I know people that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because there's people that just play wedding bands, but like I never wanted to do that. I was like, I kind of took lesser paying gigs that in the genre that I wanted to play in. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't waver. Like, I didn't want to take a rock gig or a blues gig. I was like, this is
it.
who I am. This is what I
I'm
want to
doing.
do. And I just set my mind to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that, and just honestly, God's favor. I don't know why, but like it has to be, because there's no other explanation for the things that have happened in my life and the opportunities I've gotten, that if it weren't for some sort of divine intervention, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think that's great advice. Just keeping at it.
just keep at
And
it. And
you said you just didn't even give yourself an option to think of anything else. Like, I'm doing this.
yep. I mean, and then sometimes you'll get to a place where if you're doing it, there is no out. You have to continue doing what you started, because what else are you going to do? I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm not capable of doing something else, but I was, you just stand when that's all you have to do.
Just
You
stand.
just,
Sometimes that's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, I always tell everybody, in order to hit the ball, you have to swing the bat. So just keep swinging. If you've been knocked down, or if you're trying something in music, I can see it's no different than anything else we do. You just got to keep on swinging the bat
Yep.
to hit that ball.
That's the truth. And I appreciate you sharing your story, Chad, but it is very similar to every other guest. It's whatever they're in, acting or boxing, you just got to keep on keeping on. It's that
Yeah.
perseverance.
I think, and like, don't like be able to do more than one thing too. You know what I mean? Like, be willing to adjust, like, I think I just want to add that,
Yeah, just don't be so rigid. Just kind of be a little fluid. Have a goal, but be willing to.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
That's
you,
great.
Chad.
Thank
We
you.
like to close every show. It's boxing related. Sounds like things are coming at you, but life does come at you. We tell everybody to keep their guard
right.
up.
Yep.
So all these fights coming. So we close our shows. We're looking in the camera and tell everybody to keep their guard up.
So let's
Let's do it.
do it, everybody. Let's
your
keep our
guard
guard up. Come on, Chad, get your guard up.